Hi everyone, welcome you all. So in our previous videos, we have seen predefined function interfaces by which how we can write a lambda expressions and how we can invoke the lambda expressions. So let us recap what we have discussed so far, and then we will discuss further. So we have seen predefined function interfaces. As part of this, there are four interfaces I have told you. One is predicate is one interface, function is an interface, consumer and supplier. So these are the four main predefined interfaces we have in Java 8. So by which we can write our lambda expressions and we can invoke the lambda expressions. So these are all predefined function interfaces. So in our previous videos, we have discussed about predicate and a function. So these are the predefined function interfaces we have discussed. And every interface is having one single abstract method. So like predicate is having one single abstract method, which is test method. This is single abstract method which is having. The function is another predefined function interfaces which is also having one more method called apply. And similarly, consumer is also having another which is also a predefined function interface which is also having one more method called accept. And finally we have a supplier. So this is also one more predefined function interface which is also having one predefined abstract method which is get. So every interface is having one single abstract method. So predicate is having test, function is having apply, consumer is having accept, supplier is having get. Now let us see when exactly we prefer these predefined interfaces, when we need to choose based upon our requirement. So first of all, let's see predicate. So when we need to go for predicate, suppose I have to pass some input, right? And I need to check some condition and then I want to get the boolean as an output. That means if you have any conditional checks in your program, then we can go for predicate. So the test method will take one input or single parameter as an input and which will return a boolean value as an output. Similarly, the function is another interface which we have which contains the apply method. So when we need to go for a function is, if you pass some input here, when I take an input which will perform certain operation and then will return the value. So this will return some value for us and it will take the input and do some action and then return the value. In that case we can go for function. And consumer is also another type of predefined interface we have, predefined function interface, which is also having one more method called accept. So when we need to go for consumer here is, consumer means that it will consume. So that means whatever we provide as an input, which will use that input, but it doesn't return any value for us. So the consumer interface will take one input as a single parameter as an input, but it doesn't return anything for us. It just print or it just use the whatever input we have passed to into it. Just it will accept, it just consume it, but it doesn't return anything. So in those cases we can go for consumer interface. So consumer interface will take arguments or parameters, but it doesn't return any value for us. It just do some action. In those cases we can go for consumer interface. And other than this we also have supplier. So this is also predefined functional interface which is also having get method. And this particular supplier will not take any parameter or argument, but it will supply some value or some object or some value which will be supplied or which will return here. So the supplier means always it will supply something, but it doesn't take any input or parameter, but it do some action and it is supplying some object or returning some object or returning some element. So in those cases we can go for supplier. So these are the four types of predefined functional interfaces we have: predicate, function, consumer and the supplier. So each interface is having a dedicated abstract methods. Predicate is having test, function is having apply, consumer is having accept, supplier is having get. So consumer, we already discussed more about predicate and function earlier. Now in the today's video especially I mainly focus on consumer and the supplier. So what's the basic difference between these two is, consumer will just accept the input and do some processing, but it doesn't return any value for us. In case of supplier, which doesn't take input for us, it doesn't take any input or argument, but it do some action and return some object or it returns some element. So consume and supply. So consume means it will just accept the data and do something. Supplier means it doesn't accept any input or data, but it do some process and finally it will return some element or object. In those cases we can go for supplier. So these are the predefined function interfaces we have. So consumer and the supplier. So consumer is having accept method, supplier is having get method. So we can write our own lambda expressions by using consumer and supplier. we can invoke those lambda expressions by using accept method and a get method. So accept method is from consumer, get is a method from supplier. Okay, so for consumer and a supplier, we will see a few more practical examples. We already discussed about predicate and function. So now I'm going to show you a few more examples on practical examples on consumer and a supplier. Now let us move on to the practical part. All right, so now we'll see one example on consumers and suppliers. So first let us start with the consumer. So I have one project called Lambda expressions, and under SRC, I'm just going to create a new package. I'll name it as consumers. I'll say finish. So inside the package, I'm just going to create a new class called demo1. I'll take a main method and then say finish. So let me show you some simple example how we can use consumer and how we can write a lambda expression and how to invoke that lambda expression by using consumer accept method. So for that, I'm just say consumer, and which will take one argument. So what is the consumer means? Which will take one argument, but it doesn't return anything for it. It will just consume the value or consume the data, and it do some processing inside it, but it doesn't return any value for us. So consumer, let us pass some string parameter, and I'll give some reference variable called c equal to, and I will define the lambda expression. So I'll say I'll pass one argument which is s lambda expression, and inside this method I'm just printing the value system.out.println. I just print the value of s. Then import this consumer from java.util.function. So all the predefined function interfaces are available in the same package, java.util.function. Now this is a lambda expression which I have written, so which will take one string argument, will store in this variable, and then the same value is printing by this method. It's just printing the value, nothing else. It takes some input but doesn't return any value. So how to invoke this lambda expressions? To invoke this lambda expression, we have to use accept method from this consumer interface. So how we can access? By using this object reference variable c dot, we use accept method. So we are accepting here, consumer is accepting one string parameter. So let us pass some string argument here. Okay, now I pass some string argument into this lambda expression, which will just print the value. So let me just run as Java application, which is printed exactly the same way. So basically what we need to understand here is the consumer will always take one argument or one parameter, which doesn't return any value for us. It just performs some operation, it prints the output, but it doesn't return any value for us. So this is a basic meaning of consumer. Okay, now I'll show you one more example where we can see the combination of multiple function interfaces. Like we have discussed about predicate earlier, we have discussed about predicate, function, and also consumer, right? So all together, I'll show you all three in one example. Then you can understand how we can exactly use predicate, function along with the consumer. So let me just create one more example, and let's take a new class. I'll say demo2. Let's take a main method and then finish. Now, so here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some object. So I'm going to pass an object as a parameter, and here my requirement is I want to create multiple employee objects. So I'll create one employee class, and by using the class I can create any number of employee objects. So I have one multiple employee objects like this, E1, E2, E3. So I'll store all the employee objects in array list. So I'll store all the employee objects in the array list. Now what I want to do is I'll take each and every employee object. So employee object means which contains the name of the employee, salary of the employee, and also gender I'll store. So all the details of employee I'll store in multiple variables. So I'll take each and individual employee object, and based on the salary, I want to calculate bonus of the employee. So I'll take the salary value from each object, and then I'll calculate bonus of 10%. I'll get the salary and I apply 10% of the salary equal to bonus. I'll calculate the bonus. And that is the one requirement. The other requirement is once you calculated the bonus, I'll verify that particular bonus is greater than 5,000 or not. If the bonus value is greater than 5,000, then I will print the details of all the employee objects. Okay, so if the bonus is greater than 5,000, then I will print all the details of employees. Okay, that's another detail. So here bonus is greater than 5,000, then I'm going to print the values of employees. If the condition is matches, then I'll get all the data from each individual employees and then I'll print the data. So this is my requirement scenario. So first of all, I'll create multiple employee objects. Then I'll calculate the bonus of each and every employee. And then I will check the bonus is greater than 5,000 or not. If it is a 5,000, then only I will print the values of employees. So here there are three tasks are involved. The first task is calculate the bonus of the employee. Okay. The second task is check the bonus value is greater than 5,000 or not. And the next task is print the values of the employees if bonus is greater than 5,000. So printing the details of employee, print EMP details. So this is another task I have. So these are the three tasks are involved in this requirement. First, we need to calculate the bonus of the employee. Then if the bonus is greater than 5,000, then print EMP details. So there are three requirements I have in this. So the first thing I can achieve by using predicate. So not a predicate, function. So how we can achieve by using a function this one? So this one we can achieve by using function because I can pass the salary of the employee to the function and that will calculate the bonus and which will return the bonus. So here we need to pass the input and get the result. So in this case we use function. Now the second requirement, I need to verify bonus is greater than 5,000 or not. And if I verify bonus greater than 5,000, I should get a true, or if it is not, I'll get the false. So I need to get the Boolean value as a result when I pass a bonus value. So when I pass a bonus as an input value, I should get true or false. So in this case, I can use predicate. Now the third requirement. So if the bonus value is greater than 5,000, then I will just print the employee details. It will just get the input from this, and then if the bonus value is greater than 5,000, then I'll just print the values of the employee. So this I can achieve by using consumer. By using consumer, I can achieve this. So let us see how we can write this requirement, how we can write predicate, function, predicate, and consumer, and how we can call the Lambda expressions in different scenarios. So same thing I'm going to implement now. So let us see. So first of all, we need an employee class. So let me just create one class called employee, and which contains three inputs or three variables I'm defining to store the data. I'll say string ename, int salary, then string gender. Okay, the three variables I created. Now to assign the data into them, I create one constructor, say employee. Employee is my constructor, and then I'll define the parameters. String ename I'll get, then I'll get the salary of the employee, then I'll get the gender of the employee. And inside this, I'll use this keyword to assign this data into the variables. So I'll say this dot ename equal to ename, this dot salary equal to salary, this dot gender equal to gender. Okay, now I have assigned some data into this variables. Now with this class, I'm going to create multiple objects. Now come to the actual main class, and here I'm creating an array list which contains a employee class objects. So let me just create one array list. And what are the type of objects we are storing into the array list? Employee type of objects. So we have to specify the type also, employee, and emp list is my reference variable equal to new array list I'm saying, and here I'll say employee and then bracket. So import this array list from java.util. So now I just created one array list. Now we need to add multiple objects of employee into this array list. So take this variable, I'll say add. I'm directly adding the object. I'm not creating any reference variable. So I'll say new employee. Whenever I create an object here, I need to pass three details: employee name, salary, and gender. So I'll say employee name is a David, and I'll say salary is equal to, I'll say 50,000, and then gender is male. So I'm passing 3 parameters to the constructor, so which is an object stored in this emp list. And similarly, I'll create a few more objects. Here I'll say John, and let's make it as a 30,000 is also male. Now similarly, let me create a few more objects, 4 objects, and this one is, I'll say Mary, and the salary is, I'll say 20,000 is a female. Now the next one I'll say Scott, salary is, I'll make it as a 60,000 and then male. So now I have added 4 different employee objects into array list. So here my requirement is for each and every object of employee, I want to calculate the bonus value based on the salary. I want to calculate the bonus value based on the salary. So that means I need to pass a salary as an input. Then the bonus should be calculated by the function, and then it should return the bonus. So here we have an input value, and we should also expecting some return value. So in that case, we need to go for function concept. So function, predefined function interface we have to use function. So how to write Lambda expression by using the function is, we can just simply write like this, function. So function, and what is the type we are passing into this? The employee objects we are going to pass. So the type of employee object is employee. Then what is the type it will return? After calculating the bonus, which will return an integer. So integer is a return type. And then I'm creating a reference variable f equal to, and I'm passing emp object, and this is a parameter representing parameter and Lambda expression. And here I'm calculating the bonus of the employee. And after calculating, I need to return the value. So for that, we have only a single statement. So I'll say, I can say like emp dot, I'm getting the salary from this emp object, whatever emp parameter I'm getting. From that object, I'm extracting the salary, and 10% salary I'm calculating here, 10% divided by 100. Okay, so because we are not using any return statement here, so we can put in the single statement without using curly braces. So import this function from spelling mistake. So import this function from java.util.function. So now we have written one Lambda expression by using a function which will calculate the bonus of employee. So when I take employee object, which will take an employee object as an argument, then it will calculate the bonus and return the bonus value. So the first task is done. Now once you calculated the bonus, so what is the second task? So this is my task 1. Now what is the next task is, once you calculated the bonus, we need to check whether the bonus is greater than 5,000 or not. And if it is greater than 5,000, I should get either true, or if it is not greater than 5,000, I need to get the false. So I have one conditional check here. So if you have a conditional check, what we have to prefer? We have to go for predicate. Now here I'm writing one predicate. Predicate is a functional interface again. So I'm passing one integer value, that is our bonus value, and then reference variable equal to, and what it should do is, this Lambda expression will take one parameter, like bonus value will take a parameter. I'll pass a b, which is a parameter value, and Lambda expression, then what it should do is, it will just compare b is greater than or equal to 5,000 or not. So I'll say b greater than or equal to 5,000. So just it will return true or false. So if I just look at here, I'm importing this predicate from java.util.function, which will take integer parameter, and it will pass integer parameter b, and internally it is calculating b greater than or equal to 5,000 or not. If b value is greater than or equal to 5,000, this expression will return true, or it will return false. So here to verify, because I have a conditional check here, so I can just go with predicate. Now, so we have created one function which will calculate the bonus of the employee. I created one predicate which will find the bonus value is greater than 5,000 or not. Then I want to print the details of employee objects. I want to print the details of employee objects. So in that case, I can just use one consumer. I'll say consumer, I'm going to use consumer. So what consumer will do, which doesn't accept, which will take one argument, but it doesn't return anything. Consume, it will just consume the data what we are passing. So how to create a consumer Lambda expression? I'll say consumer, and which will, we need to pass some object or some variable, something like this. So currently we are passing employee object. So type is employee. This is an input type. And I'll say C is a basically a consumer reference variable. Now we are going to pass employee object. So that will be received in the EMP and Lambda expression. So inside this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to print the values of employee, the details of employee object. So in this Lambda expression, what I'll do is I'll just say system.out.println from the EMP object. From the EMP object, I just want to get the, what is the first value? E-name. So I just want to get the E-name. Okay, this is the first thing. And the next thing is from this system.out.println from the same EMP object, I want to print the salary. And then from the same EMP object, I want to print gender value. Okay, now our Lambda expression is completed. So this is how consumer. Let me just import this consumer from java.util.function. Done. So if I just look at this consumer, which is taking one argument, like employee object, we are passing as a parameter. But what exactly it is doing it? It is just printing the data. It is not returning anything for us. It is just consume the data, whatever we passed as an argument. And that means it is just printed the data, nothing else. So this is my third task, guys. So I'll say this is my task 2 and this is my task 3. So as we discussed previously, we have a 3 task in my requirement. One is we have to find the salary of the employee object. Then I want to check if I want to find the bonus of the employee. For each and every object, I need to find the bonus. After finding the bonus, after calculating the bonus, I need to check whether the bonus value is greater than 5,000 or not. And then I want to print the details of employee. Okay, so to print the details of employee, I'm just passing the employee object into consumer. Then I'm printing the data of the employee. So now I have created 3 different Lambda expressions by using function, predicate, and consumer. Now I want to do these things for every employee object. So first I need to process the employee object to find the bonus of the employee. And then I will check the bonus is greater than 5,000. Then I will display the details of employee. Okay. So for that, let me just write one enhanced for loop. Here I'm reading all the employee object from this EMP list. From this EMP list, I'm taking all the employee objects into a variable called E. Now, what is the type of this variable is employee, because from the EMP list, all objects are employee type. So whenever read each and every object into this variable should be able to hold employee objects. In that case, we have to specify which is an employee type. Now, this is a very important. So for each employee object, what is the first task I want to perform? I need to calculate the bonus of the employee based on the salary, right? So now I want to just invoke this function Lambda expression. So in the function, we have a abstract method in which by using which method we have to invoke the function. By using apply method, we can invoke the function Lambda expression. So I'm just saying f dot apply, and this particular method will invoke the function Lambda expression, and which will take employee object as an argument. So whatever employee object variable I'm getting here, I'm just passing it. So then what this will return is, when I pass the employee object into the function, which will calculate the bonus of employee based on the salary, and then which will return the bonus value for us. So this statement will return the bonus for us. So let me just create one variable called bonus, and then I'm storing that value in this variable. So function is invoked. Then once you get the bonus, I want to verify this, or I want to verify the bonus value is greater than 5,000 or not. If it is greater than 5,000, then only I want to display the details of the employee. So how we can find whether bonus is greater than 5,000 or not? Simply I can call this predicate. I can invoke this predicate. So by using if condition, because the predicate will return either true or false, a Boolean expression, conditional check is there. So if I just want to invoke this predicate, so normally how we can invoke this predicate? We have to use a reference variable dot, and what is the method we have to use? Because it is a predicate, we have one method called test method, and here we have to pass the bonus value that is the integer value we have to pass, then which will check which is greater than 5000 or not. So we already calculated bonus here. I'm passing into test method. Then what this will return? This will return either true or false, which will invoke the predicate lambda expression. Then it will find whether the b value is greater than or equal to 5000 or not. If it is greater than or equal to 5000, then this one returns a true or false. So now I'll put this in the condition statement. And if this predicate is returns a true, then what I should do? I should print the details of employee. So to print the details of employee, I will just call the consumer. I'll just invoke this consumer lambda expression. So how to invoke this? Just to say c dot accept. So we have to pass input to this, but it doesn't return anything. So what we have to pass it here? EMP object we have to pass. So when I pass EMP object into this accept, what this will do is EMP object means E. E is a reference variable now. So when I pass E as an object into this consumer, which will print all the details of employee, e-name, salary, and gender. So I'm just invoking the consumer lambda expression. So after printing all the details of employee, then also I will print here bonus of the employee because we already calculated bonus here. So I'll say system.out.println, and here I'll say bonus value. That's it. So now we can see 3 tasks are achieved. So I'm getting the first employee object from the EMP list. I'm passing that employee object to the apply method, that is function, which will calculate the bonus. Here it will calculate the bonus and return the bonus into this variable. So as soon as I get the bonus from here, immediately I'm trying to invoke the predicate. That means I will call the test method because predicate contains a test method. So p.test, I'm passing the bonus value because the predicate will accept integer as a parameter, and which will return either true or false because it is a conditional check. If b value greater than or equal to 5000, then it returns true, or else it returns false. So if this expression is returns true, then immediately what I'm doing is I'm invoking the consumer expression, consumer lambda expression. And what this will do, it will take EMP object and immediately it will print all the data. So in the accept method, which is belongs to consumer interface, I'm calling the accept method to invoke the lambda expression, and I'm passing the same E object, employee object. So what this will do is, which will go and print all the details of employee, e-name, salary, and gender. And here we already calculated the bonus, so I'm just printing the bonus directly here. Along with all the employee details, I'm also printing the bonus value. So here I'll write simple message called employee bonus. That's it. Right? So now in this example, we have created function, predicate, and consumer. So function will take 2 arguments. One is an input type argument, the other one is output type argument. When I pass an EMP object, which is calculated the bonus and return the bonus. When I invoke the predicate, it will take integer value, which is a bonus value. Then it will check whether the bonus is greater than or equal to 5000 or not. If it is a greater than 5000, returns true. Then I have invoked the consumer, and I'm just passing the EMP object to this consumer. Then it will print all the details of employee. So now inside this if condition, I can also invoke the consumer here. So here I invoked consumer. Okay, here I have invoked consumer, and here in the condition itself we have invoked predicate, because predicate will always return true or false. And here we have invoked function. We have invoked the function. Okay, so the function contains one method called apply, predicate contains another method called as a test, consumer contains one more method called accept. So function will take the input, return the output. Predicate will take the input but returns only boolean. Consumer will not take any input, but it takes the input but it doesn't return anything for us. Okay, so this is how it will take the input. Consumer will take the input but it doesn't process anything, just it consumes the data. All right, so now let us try to execute this, and which will apply everything in every object of employee, but whichever the employee is getting more than greater than 5,000 bonus, then only those details will be displayed in the console window. Let me run it. Now you can see there are 4 employees details I have added into the object, but it is just displayed only I guess 2 employees. So this is a one record, this is another employee record. So David 50,000 mail is a details, employee bonus is calculated 5,000, which is condition is matched, and here also condition is matched. So we got the details of 2 employees. Okay, so this is how we can use function predicate along with the consumer. Okay, sometimes if you have multiple consumers, we can also combine them. I can create a consumer chain, right? So let me just show you how we can chain the consumer. Let's move on to the another example. I'll create another class called demo3, take this main method and then finish. And here I'm just going to show you how to do the consumer chaining. In case of predicate, we have seen how to join multiple predicates. Similarly, in case of function also, we have seen like how we can chain the function. Similarly, here consumer also we can chain. So let me just show you how to chain the consumer. Simple example. Let me just create multiple consumers. So let us say what is consumer means, which will whether it takes input or not. If it takes the input, but it doesn't return any value. So I'll say consumer, and let us pass some string parameter into it. I say C1 I created, and this will take one argument. Let's create one argument. Let's say string argument, which will take, and what this will do is which will just print the value. So let's say when I pass some value here, string value, then what this internally will do is it will just printing the value system.out.println. I'll print the value which I am passing here, which is a string value. Along with this, I'm also giving some space, and here I'm just printing one simple message called is white. Okay, some string parameter I'll pass, and then it will capture here and it will print the string parameter value along with this is white statement. Now import this consumer from java.util.function. This is one consumer I created. Now let us create one more consumer. Let's say C2, which will also take one string parameter and which will print a string value here. Give the space, and here I'll print some message like is having 4 legs. I'm basically trying to send an animal object, okay, which is white, which is having 4 legs. Then I'll create one more consumer. I'll make it as a C3. Here also it will take one input, string input, and it will print the same input value, and the message is eating grass. I'll say which is eating grass. All right, so now I created 3 different consumers, C1, C2 and C3. Suppose when I say how we can invoke these consumers by using accept method. So when I say c1.accept, and here I'm passing one name of the animal, then what is an output you will get? And we'll pass the cow, and which will go into this variable. It prints cow is white. So when I run this, which will print or which will invoke the first lambda expression, the first consumer. Similarly, I will also write 2 more statements, and I'll invoke the C2 and also C3. And in every consumer, I'm passing the same value. Now C1, C2, C3, all 3 I have called. I have invoked all 3 lambda expressions. Now you can see I got all the data perfectly fine. Now what I want to do is I want to chain them. So I want to execute first C1, then I want to execute C2, then I want to execute C3, one after another. So instead of calling each individual consumers multiple times, what simply I can do is I can simply write one single statement by using and then method. So for that, what you have to do is we have to say first to C1, the first consumer, and then second consumer, and then third consumer. And here I'll say method called accept. All right, so now I'll passing the value here. So this is a way we can chain the multiple consumers. So C1 and then C2, then C3. First C1 will execute, then C2 will execute, and then C3 will execute by taking this argument. So this is how we can change the multiple consumers. So when I run this as a Java application, now we got the same output. So basically it is called all three consumers, but we have written only with single line by using and then method. Okay, this is the one way we can do that. And there is also one more way. What we can do is by combining all three consumers, we can create one single consumer by combining all three. So how we can do this is, or let me just create one more consumer. I'll say consumer. This will also take a string argument and I will name it as a C4. So C1, C2, C3 we don't have a C4. Now in the C4, I want to join C1, C2, C3, all three consumers. So what I can do is I'll say same thing again. This is the same thing, we can write it over here. But you don't pass any argument here. We don't call accept method here. Just combine them. C1 dot and then C2 dot and then C3. And this is one more consumer now. So now what I will do is I will just use this consumer and method is accept and then we'll pass the element. So this is one more way to do this. Simply what I have done is we have done the same thing, but we have stored this C1 and then C2 and then C3. These three combinedly we have stored in one more variable, one more consumer. And then I'm invoking this consumer Lambda expression by accepting this method. Now this will also give you the same result. Okay, so this is how we can just change the multiple consumers. You can have any number of consumers. We can change them into one consumer and then we can invoke that particular method. Right? So this is all about consumers. So consumers will take one argument or parameter, but it doesn't return any value for us. It just do some operation. It will just print the data. That's it. It doesn't do anything else. All right. So this is all about consumer. So far we discussed predicate, function, consumer along with the Lambda expressions. So finally, I'm going to discuss about supplier. We also have supplier. So supplier is also one of the functional interface, predefined functional interface. What is the method it contains? It contains only one abstract method called get method. And this method, it doesn't take input for us, but it do some operation and return the output. It supplies something to us, but it doesn't take any argument. Okay, this is a supplier. So let us see how we can use this supplier. And if I just look at this, let me just create one more simple example to understand supplier. I'll also create a new package. I will name it as a suppliers. And inside this, I'm creating a new class to demonstrate the supplier. I'll say demo1. Okay. Now, as I said, supply is just a expression which will not take any input from us, but it do something and return some output. So in those cases, we can choose a supplier. So let me just show you a simple example how we can use supplier. I'll create one Lambda expression by using a supplier. I'll say supplier, which doesn't take, which supplier will take just input. Okay, so it just, what the supplier will do, supplier, it just supply some something like some object or some element, whatever, but it doesn't take any input from us. It doesn't take input from us. So how we can create a Lambda expression by using this supplier is, I can simply say supplier. I'll say supplier. Okay, I say supplier. We need to import one package. So I'll say supplier. S is a reference variable equal to, it doesn't take any argument, so empty bracket. But inside this, what I will do is it just supplies something. That means it returns something for us. It just returns something for us. So here, what I will say is, I'll say a new date. Okay, so what exactly mean is, the date is a predefined object or class which we have in Java. So basically, which will return the current date, time, everything. So we will call this date function by using new keyword. So date we have to import later. I'll show you. So supplier is my interface, which is predefined function interface, and S is a reference variable, and empty brackets means no parameters. So lambda expression, new and date. All right, so here we don't need to pass any argument, but which will return some value for us, right? So it is returning some value. So while passing the parameters, we don't have any input for it, but it returning something, so we have to specify the return type. So the return type is also date. The return type is also date, because the supplier will take only one argument, which is a return type, which is a return type. So let me just give you clarity on this. So in case of predicate, see this. So in case of predicate, what we have done, what predicate will do, which will take one argument and which doesn't return any value. So here we are passing the argument or parameter type we have to pass. In case of function, it will take the input and return the output also, right? So we have to pass one input type and also it will return something. So both we need to pass two arguments which will take. Now in case of consumer, it will just consume the data, it doesn't return anything, but it takes the input. So we have to pass something, but it doesn't return anything. But in case of supplier, it doesn't take any input, but it returns some value for us. So here the return type we have to specify. Okay, return type we have to specify. So here the date is a return type. Now how to invoke this lambda expression supplier? We have one method inside this, which is get method. So by using this get method, we can invoke the lambda expression. So I'll say reference variable is yes dot get I am calling. I say yes dot get I am calling. And when I say get, which doesn't take any input from us, but it returns some value for us. So what is the value which is supplying for us? A new date. That means a date value which is returning. So I'm just printing that value, system dot out dot println s dot get. That's it. So always the supplier will supply something, and in this case it is generating the current date and which is returning for us. So I'm just printing that one. So when I run this, which will print the output of this new date. So it is printing week name, month, date, time, and everything. Okay, so this is how we can just use supplier. So basically supplier doesn't take any input, but it returns some value us. It supplies some value for us. So these are the four different type of predefined function interfaces we have in Java 8. And by using them, we can create our Lambda expressions and we can invoke those Lambda expressions by using different methods. So predicate will take only input type parameter, and it will use test method to invoke the Lambda expressions. So function will take one type parameter and also which will return the value. So which will use apply method to invoke the lambda expression. In case of consumer, which will take only input parameter, but there is no return value. So which will use accept method to invoke the lambda expression. Supplier will not take any input from us, but it returns some value, but it supplies some value for us. So only the return type will be there, but it doesn't take any input from us. So here they will use one method called get method. Okay, so these are all predefined function interfaces which we can use along with the lambda expressions, and which are very useful to write the lambda expressions regular day-to-day programming life. Okay, which is making our job very easy and simple. All right, so that's all about predicate, function, consumer, and supplier along with the lambda expressions. Okay, so that's all for this session. Thanks for watching.